Hello and welcome to BlizzCon 2014. We are here live in Anaheim, California. I am Azale, and of course joined by my good friends Lore as well as VHel. I'm so excited to be here. We're going to have some amazing games. How you feeling about it, guys?
Oh my God, the hype has never been more real than right now. The hype train has been heading full steam directly here to the Anaheim Convention Center at BlizzCon 2014 for these, and what a great match to start off with as well.
Yeah, I feel like a broken record because I've been saying this over the past years. Every single tournament that I've been to leading up to this point has just been the best tournament over and over and over. And this year, it is absolutely crazy how good these teams are.
Yeah, I mean, the teams from every region have been performing exceptionally well. You know, the Chinese team barely losing 3-2. You know, Three Amigos did lose 3-0 in their first match, but an extremely strong team, one of the favorites for the tournament still, if they can perform, you know, up to their standards. So all these teams have a great shot at this tournament, and I think it just makes it so much more interesting because the matches are so impossible to predict.
They are. I mean, putting us on the spot, we tried over and over last weekend to predict them, and we were wrong almost every single time.
Not so good. But,
Absolutely.
I mean, these teams are awesome. We have teams that are coming from all over the world. From the Asian region, we had 2 teams. We have 3 teams from North America, 3 teams from Europe. You know, it's the 8 best teams in the world. And, you know, we did have some matches last weekend, so, you know, we have a little bit of an idea of how strong some of these teams are. But, you know, it's so tough to know who's really going to come out on top.
Yeah, especially on a stage like this with everyone in the crowd. I mean, you know, during last weekend, they were playing, you know, in closed locations with a studio audience, and it wasn't the gigantic crowd and, you know, loud cheers and stuff. So they really have to be on their game.
Yeah, that's a lot of people sitting behind us right now, just waiting, so ready to get into this. I think we're going to take a look at the rules really quickly first before we move on anymore. We're going to talk about the teams more in a second, but first let's go through the rules. We start off with a group stage. It's now heading into a single elimination bracket. If you lose at this point, you are out of the tournament. This next round and the semifinals are going to be a best of 5, and then of course the grand finals are going to be a best of 7. And like all the World of Warcraft tournaments, pretty much everywhere, we're starting on Nagrin Arena, and then from there on, the loser will pick the next map in the series.
It really does give a big advantage. You know, winning that first map not only provides some momentum for your team, but it does also give you the advantage in only having to win on your map selections. You know, especially when we do have the teams with very differing compositions, it makes a huge difference. So winning that first map on Nagrand is often the key to taking a series.
Yeah, Nagrand is a great map to start off with as well because it's very simple, just the 4 pillars, very flat surface, but it makes it very, very well balanced as well. There isn't like a really major advantage for any individual comps on that particular map, so it's more or less you go in on the most balanced for every combination possible. If you win that map, like you were saying, from then on you only have to win on the maps that you pick. So,
yeah. And I mean, especially
really
for teams, you know, like LSD2, you know, having knockoffs on a map like Blade's Edge can provide a huge advantage. Whereas, you know, if you're playing a melee team playing on something like Runes of Lordaeron can really give you that edge. So, regardless, it is going to be you know, a big deal to win that first map. But I think we are going to take a look at these team sheets. We want to head into the action. I know you guys do too. So let's take a look at the teams.
Yeah, one of the things that we've talked about before when you win your first map pick and stuff, you know, we talk about the momentum in terms of map pick. Of course, on your screen is going to be Pop CD, No Skill, the team from China. I actually talked to the Monk because I play Monk myself, and I was able to talk to the Windwalker. He is so good. When I turned on the Asian qualifiers and I caught part of the last match, and I just happened to look at it while I was playing another game, and then I saw him on Dalaran Arena force every cooldown out of the Resto Shaman like 10 seconds into the game. It was scary.
Yeah, that much burst out of a Windwalker that early is just crazy, too.
Yep, so it is going to be Xeon playing the Monk. It's going to be Jay, I believe, on the Shadow Priest, or rather on the Shaman. It is going to be Beethoven playing that Shadow Priest. So should be very, very interesting. And yeah, I mean, I think the Monk really was their standout player. He performed exceptionally last weekend against Penny for Your Thoughts. You know, they barely lost that series. There was a couple overlaps they had with Silence and Incapacitate. And it was like, if they didn't have those small little mistakes, I really think they could have taken that series. But now on screen, we do have the hometown heroes. It's 3 Amigos. It's going to be Snuts playing the Warlock, Sidu on the Shaman, and it is Venruki playing the Mage.
As you guys can hear from the crowd cheering behind us, these guys barely need any introduction. They've been here so many times over the years. It is fantastic. What better match to start off with? We've got these guys playing against a team that in the event last weekend, I think really surprised a lot of people with how well they did. This is going to be an epic match.
Yep, definitely going to be exciting stuff. I think a lot of pressure on Three Amigos here. They were one of the favorites coming into the tournament. They got blanked last weekend against Skill Capped EU. They cannot afford to have a repeat performance like this, not in front of all these fans. The expectations are high, not only from the fans, but from themselves as well. So to lose here is just basically not an option. They must win. We'll see if they're going to do it. I believe we are ready to get into this first game here. As soon as the players are ready, we're going to get it going.
I mean, how much pressure do you think is on Three Amigos at this point? You think, like he was talking about on stage, that, they're comfortable here, but they have so many fans that came up to me after, today, yesterday, talking about how they lost just 3-0.
Yeah, I mean, they expect better from themselves. The fans expect better from them as well. They know they need to perform, and I definitely do think that adds a little bit extra pressure, especially if they fall behind early. If you make a mistake early, sometimes the pressure can really start to mount. Those mistakes can start to snowball a little bit and cost you a series.
Yeah, absolutely. But if you look at the team that they lost to last weekend, it was a 3-0, but it was a 3-0 to Skill Capped EU, who then went on to the semifinals. They've been doing fantastically. I really think that we have not seen the best of Three Amigos just yet, and I'm hoping that that's what they're going to bring for us here today.
Well, they're going to need to against Pop CD No Skill. The Chinese team definitely representing their region well so far. I have to say it's probably the strongest team we've actually seen come out of the Chinese region. Definitely quite a good team. China traditionally hasn't had as much success at these international events, but this team definitely coming out ready.
That's a pretty sweet transmog.
It really is. We're going to get these teams in just in a second. Looks like they're going to reform their group just quickly, making sure everything's all set on stage for them. Let me see. Get them queued up right away.
So as we said, it is going to be starting off on the Grand Arena as usual. It is going to be the Windwalker Monk, and it is going to be a Shadow Priest. He can also play a Warlock, so it'll be interesting to see if he does bust that out. But it's going to be Shadow Priest or a Warlock, a Windwalker Monk, and the Shaman. And then Three Amigos, I'm expecting just to see their standard, Mage Lock Shaman composition. But Venruki, also a very good Windwalker Monk. We could see that come out. Sidhu does play, Mistweaver Monks. Nuts can play a Warrior. There are some differences there, but I think for this series, there's no real reason to start off with anything other than their main composition.
Absolutely. You always want to start off with putting your best foot forward, play what you're super familiar with. It is a really, really huge advantage to be able to play different compositions in those cases where maybe you run into a comp that's a little bit better against what you normally play. But for the very first match on Nagrin, especially against this Windwalker, Shaman, and Shadow Priest or Warlock composition. Usually Shadow Priest, I believe they've been playing. Might as well just go with the MLS. Just start off, put your best foot forward, and see what you can do.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they did actually qualify with a Warlock, but the Warlock, I'm not sure if it was a visa issue or what, but he was not able to make it. So this was a last-minute replacement. So, that adds a little bit of extra, I think, difficulty for this team as well. When you're preparing all year long with one teammate, then last minute you have to swap to another, it can be difficult. And this team doesn't have as much consistent pressure, but what it does have is it does have, a massive amount of burst potential. They are going to have to be playing very quick, but we are going into the game, guys. It's going to be game number 1 between Pop CD No Skill and Three Amigos. Let's kick it off big at BlizzCon 2014.
And the gates are opening right now. We are going to follow the Windwalker straight out of the start. Xeon is my favorite out of this match because he does play that Windwalker and he does so well. Already 8 stacks of Tiger Eye. The game has started. It's so exciting that right away he's starting to stack up those, and it's amazing to see them constantly rebuff right from the start, knowing that they're going to be constant purges out.
Yep, and we are going to see, Three Amigos playing Alliance, deciding to prioritize the extra damage that they can put out, with these double DPS trinkets over the stun reduction from Sidhu. So Sidhu is going to have to be extra careful here. Not having that stun reduction as an orc, could be trouble for him. We'll see how this game is going to start off, though. Both teams, just kind of stacking up those icicles right now. In comes Xeon, though. He's going to start things off on Venruki. Nuts with the early fear over onto him, though, is going to keep Venruki safe.
Yeah. And as you can see, the Windwalker just absolutely, he has 11 stacks now. He does like to stack up to 20 before. Actually, I'm completely wrong. He hits his first stack of Tiger Eye Brew, but he's immediately CC'd.
Yeah.
Great job.
Full sheep on a G. That's going to have to be Trinket as Xeon is getting very low, already having to use a lot of his defensives there. Venruki did blow his Trinket in the attack, but now they're just going to sheep him up. They see that he has been healed through, but the next swap onto Xeon could be huge as G is not going to have his PvP Trinket. I mean, he just blew his last stand as well. He's blown through most of his defensive impressive cooldowns, and G is sitting without a trinket. 3 Amigos off to a great start.
Yeah, and watching what they're doing so far, they're just putting as much CC onto Xeon as possible. They know what he's capable of. They were watching him last weekend. He can do so much damage in such a big, short amount of time. He's already stacking back up to 13 stacks of that Tiger Eye Brew. He likes to save it until he can do 2 of those in a row, and then he can just do such a tremendous amount of pressure for such a long period of time, but they're not really letting him get in there.
Yeah, they definitely are. We are going to have to see, what they're going to be able to pull off here. As Xeon, he's constantly rebuffing. They are sitting back behind the pillar right now, trying to do that the best that they possibly can. Now going to be pushing out over onto Venruki. Venruki going to be taking some damage. Pops the temporal shield. Beethoven getting involved there, putting a little bit of damage in. Perhaps they are looking for the swap to C2 as Xeon was moving in that direction. But it is going to be the attack over onto Venruki. Venruki going to be taking some damage. Devouring Plague coming out. Venruki looking for the sheep. He's going to get sheared on that. Block has to come out at 100k HP. Pretty dangerous there for Venruki.
Yeah, he does not want to risk anything as far as those ice blocks goes. Wants to make sure. Oh, Xeon actually dipping there pretty low for just a second. He's now going to come over here out of line of sight and try to get himself healed up again. Coming back out, you're trying to put on some more pressure. I love all the fire blossoms that he's firing off there. Just doing every little thing that he can to build up those Tiger Eye Brew stacks. Yeah,
constantly spending those chi. It's a great job because he knows that he can't push in really deep against this MLS or he will be punished.
Yeah, he needs to find a good moment to go in there, pop everything. Having Touch of Karma available would be fantastic as well. Get in there. And look, wow, he's actually even using the Storm, Earth, and Fire to throw a clone out there for a second just to put on a little bit of extra pressure. I am really impressed with this Windwalker.
Yep, he is doing a good job so far. And I mean, they have lived till G's PvP trinket did just come back up. So, yeah. I mean, that is definitely what they were looking for. But there's a deep freeze onto Xeon. Halatair onto G. He's not going to have the Tremor. He doesn't want to trinket. Now he's going to get emptied out by Beethoven, but it costs both their trinkets as well as the Nimble Brew there. Now going to go offensive onto Venruki with the Ring of Peace. Temporal Shield comes up. Venruki is taking quite a bit of damage, but once again, that overlap onto C2, the Silence and the Incap both overlap. May keep Venruki alive for now, but the NS has to come out. There's the Ascendance as well from C2, realizing the danger that Venruki was in. But that overlap cost Pop CD no skill big time. I think they would have got the second block.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely not a position they want to be in. There's another deep freeze onto Xeon right now, taking a whole lot of damage.
There's the life grip. Will it be enough, though? Touch of Karma comes out just in time onto Snuts. That is barely going to keep him alive. Nice life grip there by Beethoven, pulling Xeon out of danger, and I really think that is the only reason he's still standing.
It is, and that was a great Karma, choosing it to hold on to it as long as he could. He's already back up to 19 stacks again, so let's see if they can make an offensive push with these cooldowns.
Yeah, I definitely think he didn't want to use his Touch of Karma just yet, though. As we were seeing him play last weekend, he likes to use that in almost an offensive manner. There's another deep freeze coming in on him. The Frozen Orb is out. He's taking a ton of damage.
I think this is going to be it. Xeon does fall, and game number 1 going to go to 3 Amigos. The CC onto G was too much.
It was, and we saw the trinket come out right at the end, just doing an amazing job. 3 Amigos coming out of the gate. They know they have to win every single game. They were super confident coming into this match, and they made it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Great first game there out of 3 Amigos, really showing how they were able to, that was just so impressive, how they were able to, almost dismantle Pop CD no skill in that matchup. They just did not give them any space whatsoever to do almost anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think Pop CD no skill there, feeling the pressure a little bit. We saw, the series last week, it was cost by these CC overlaps. It's not a composition that has an unlimited amount of CC. The Silence into the Incapacitate is really your go-to CC. Yeah. 2 instants coming out on the healer. That's when you need to force cooldowns. Twice in this match, they almost completely overlapped those. And those 2 times, I mean, if you don't mess that up, the first time they did it correctly, they got a block out of Venruki. The second one should have been the second block, and the third one could have been the kill. So, I mean, this is something that you just cannot afford to mess up against a team of this caliber, because they are not going to let you get away with it. If every mistake you make, you will be punished for. And 3 Amigos, taking full advantage of those mistakes. Venruki able to hold on to those blocks, not really put into danger, allows them to play aggressive and secure that first victory.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you're saying, at this level of play, these are some of the best people in the world at this game. Any single mistake could be the end of the game in no time at all. Really, really excited to see where we go from here. I mean, that was only game 1.
So one of the things to note, that we talk about this a lot, but if this is one of your first time watching these tournaments, we don't allow them to use any add-ons whatsoever. We allow them to write scripts to move around their frames and stuff so that they're comfortable, the same idea, but overlapping CC and keeping track of cooldowns is extremely hard when you don't have immediate access to those.
Yeah, it definitely is hard. You know, it's one of the things that players really need to be practicing with, you know, not just before tournaments, but all year long, because it is something that takes a lot of time. And a lot of players, you know, do use things like, you know, the interrupt bars and things like that, and being able to track not only the cooldowns like cloak and, you know, and trinkets and things like that, but tracking just even kicks and CSs can become very difficult, especially against a team like MLS. You know, there's the Fell Hunter CS, there's also the Mage CS, so 2 counter spells that the Shaman on the other team is really going to have to keep track of. You know, they're not really CSing the Shadow Priest that much. Most of the interrupts are going to be going on to the resto Shaman, and he really has to keep track, you know, knowing exactly when he can fake, when he can't. So it makes a huge difference, and we'll see how they're going to be able to adjust going further in this series. You know, they are talking things over. We can see both teams going to take a little bit of time, you know, talk about their strategies. There is a great 3 Amigos sign.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think it's also good to point out, just so that absolutely everyone is aware, we are playing this on patch 5.4. It's what people qualified as. It's what they were playing on and training on for months. Obviously, World of Warcraft patch 6.0 did just come out a couple of weeks ago. But for this tournament, better to stick with what everybody has been playing as up until this point. That also means that there's no CC disarmament. There's still a ton of CCs to keep track of. So like you were saying, that's all stuff that they've sort of got to kind of keep track of in the back of their mind while they're doing everything else. Just a very, very difficult situation for anybody. These guys have been playing it fantastically. That is an amazing little mask. Yeah,
even tracking DRs and things like that can be, you know, definitely challenging, and you know, the added pressure, the excitement, and the adrenaline that starts to go through sometimes players, you know, kind of miscalculate, and those mistakes can actually just decide the series. So. Still just waiting for the next map selection here. We'll see what Pop CD No Skill is going to go with. You know, if I was to guess, I would think it would be something like a Sewers or a Runes of Lordaeron. You know, something a bit more aggressive where they can get in the face of 3 Amigos, try to dictate the pace of the game.
Yeah, definitely we saw a lot there. 3 Amigos not letting them get across. It's a relatively small distance on Nagrin, but 3 Amigos still was not letting them get across over there and start putting in some pressure. I definitely think that you're right. Like a map like Sewers would be great for this situation, just so that they can. It's just a little bit closer. You can get in there much easier, and especially with a Windwalker on your team, that's one roll from box to box on the Sewers. So we are going to be getting into this game very, very shortly. Here it is starting up, counting down just a moment away from game 2 of 3 Amigos versus Pop CD No Skill.
So one of the great defining moments of that last match for me was Venruki's onslaught. He basically killed the Windwalker by himself because he was able to take that gateway, because the Windwalker's been doing an amazing job of staying behind the pillar when he knows he's in trouble, when his diffuse isn't up, when his trinket isn't up. So we'll have to see if they can do the same, because on Sewers, he is going to be basically in his port range nonstop. So he is going to feel kind of safe for that. But as we saw, that gateway can just punish so hard.
Yep, definitely can, but one of the reasons you might want to go to a map like Sewers is because the gateway is not that max distance. It's much harder to get a good one on this map, but the game is going to be starting up, guys. Let's hear it for these two teams. Pop CD No Skill versus 3 Amigos for game number 2.
And we are going to follow Venruki right out of the gate. Match has started. He is already stacking up those living bombs all over the enemy team. You know, that's really important to get those bolts out immediately.
Yep, so it is going to be the damage coming in onto Xeon right off the bat. They're trying to get aggressive here. Snuts taking a little bit of damage back, but, you know, Xeon going to be pulling out. He doesn't really want to go too aggressive at this point in the game. Beethoven going to be sheeped up by Venruki. They're just trying to set up, get the proper CC. Snuts now going to be pushing forward, looking for the CC over onto the Shaman. Shadow Fury is going to land into the sheep. Fear Ward comes out, but it's going to be immediately removed. The Fear to follow that up. Xeon in some trouble. They could be seeing cooldowns coming out early on here.
Yeah, there's already diffuse. He already has his on-use trinket pop, and the Tiger Eye that does fade. Didn't do much with it. Actually, look at the damage taken from Venruki, and look at his mana. How much is he spell stealing?
Yeah, he is just spamming spell steal out, cleaning off all his buffs. He wanted to get the Fear Ward. He was able to do it, so definitely worthwhile. He's going to have to slow down on those spell steals for now, but it's not going to be really much of an issue, and Snuts going to be able to get that upper gateway, something extremely important for this team. It's going to allow them to play aggressive, gate in, get those fears. Now, Snuts once again pushing forward, looking to get the CC out. We'll see if he's going to be able to do it. Xeon trying to push him back. Fist of Fury coming out. There's the silence on a Sea-Doo. Snuts in trouble. Going to have to trinket. Heals come out as well. Snuts overextending a little bit there, and he is going to get punished for it.
Yeah, definitely. Very scary moment there. They did manage to get back and recover a little bit, and now Xeon actually taking a bit of damage there. He is going to Zen Med behind the box here. Great move. That's a tough cooldown to use in the midst of battle, so good on him for getting out of line of sight and just saying, yeah, I'm just going to make things a little bit easier for my healer for a second.
Yep, so we do see Snuts once again spreading those dots, trying to get things rolling while Venruki builds up those icicles. They're looking for this burst setup. They need to get the CC onto G and then burst onto Xeon. That's what the strategy has been so far, but will they be able to adjust? So far, G has been able to stay back, and Snuts with no trinket, no healing cooldowns, is going to have to be careful about pushing too far in. If he does overextend again, it could be trouble for him. Out comes Xeon. Snuts just going to intelligently drop back, doesn't want to risk it. Xeon taking a lot of damage from Venruki. There's the deep freeze over onto G. Into the Sheep, they are making the adjustment. Venruki going aggressive for the CC. We see the damage over onto Venruki now, though. Devouring Plague has come out. Cedar, though, in the background, healing him up. Not in too much trouble just yet. Xeon going really aggressive. Going to jump down on Venruki. First block comes out as the silence connects with Cedar.
Yeah, that was double trinket plus full Tiger Eye brew from Xeon to force that block. So that was a lot of damage coming out from him. But now that his trinkets are down, they need to find a flaw in this team of 3 Amigos.
Yep, I mean, they do force a block. They still have Snuts as an option. No heals, no trinket for about 45. Going to keep that in mind for sure. But for now, they're going to pull back. He's going to be building up those stacks once more, up to 7 already, just building them off the water elemental here from Venruki. And they're just going to continue to do this. They're going to get the stacks, they're going to get the orbs, and they're going to push in and burst. And now, going forward, onto Snuts. We'll see if Snuts decides to pour it out of there. But Snuts, just making it so difficult for Xeon to do the damage to him, always being out of LOS.
Yeah, for sure. And Xeon he's used his Tiger Eye Brew like 3 or 4 times at this point. He's now back up to 12 stacks, so it's ready again. But he has that, and there it actually is. Tiger Eye Brew coming out. They're going to try and do as much damage as possible. Venruki dipping kind of low there for a second.
Yeah.
But it looks like he is going to be able to get away, and now Xeon actually taking a bunch of damage as well.
Yeah, the deep freeze did come out, was able to be sat through, though. Still every trinket available. Look at Venruki down very low as the interrupt did come over onto CU from Xeon. Xeon forcing that block almost single-handedly. But the fear over onto Beethoven. UA dispel onto G. Could be some trouble here for Xeon. Sidu going to get the Hex out. He does fake the grounding. He gets the Hex onto G. G is going to have to sit through this. We'll see if they can force anything. It doesn't look like it. Venruki could be in a lot of trouble here. Down to half HP. No blocks available. Sidu needs to pick him back up. Out comes the Ascendance. He's going to pop Unleash. Spearwalker's Grace as well. Sidu working through this, but a beautiful in-cap there from Xeon over onto Sidu, and that is going to interrupt the heals. Venruki, though, still sitting high on HP, but is going to be in a lot of trouble as the silence comes out. This could be it for Venruki, down to 200k. What do they have? It is the Link and the Trinket from Sidu, so that is the last of his defensive cooldowns, and 3 Amigos have not forced anything.
Yeah, this is scary right now for 3 Amigos. This match is not looking great for them. I mean, Sidu has his trinket down, and he's already blown most of his cooldowns.
Yeah, Xeon once again popping Tiger Eye Brew and immediately getting feared off of that. So 3 Amigos doing the best they can to keep him under control. There's the deep freeze onto him as well. Yeah. Doing the best they can to keep him from doing damage and actually deal a little bit of damage back to him as well. Really, dipping a little bit low there for a second.
Yeah, really more of a defensive deep freeze though. I mean, they didn't have the CC on G, but it's a bit of a desperation play. Venruki now, Devouring Plague comes out. He's going to blink into the gate. Nice defensive play from here, setting up the ring, but he's going to get ported onto. Beautiful play by Xeon. Can he interrupt the poly? No, but he's going to get dispelled out. Venruki maybe going down here, 200k. Sidu silence up. This could be it. He kites away. The Nova does land. Devouring Plague comes in there, and Xeon is going to get Sheep. Fear going to land as well. Tiger's Eye Brew and Trinket with pop. The Fear going to be swapped over onto G. They do recover. Out comes the Orb. They're looking for the damage. MCS onto Xeon. G is still feared up. The Shadow Fear to follow that. Deep Freeze onto Xeon. That's going to be the Trinket from him as he pulls back. G's still in the Fear, holding on to his PvP Trinket, but a good battle back there from 3 Amigos. They're putting on the pressure.
That defensive CC was incredible. Really saved Venruki's life. Snot's doing a great job of CCing.
Yeah, now we do have dampening starting to set into place. As you can see on the top of the screen, we're at 2%. That will continue to increment as time goes on, making it harder and harder for these healers to keep their teammate alive.
Yep, so we do see the in-cap over on a Sidu. The Hex going to be triggered by Snuts. The silence to follow that up on a Sidu. Venruki in trouble once again here. Devouring Plague comes out. Can Sidu top him off? Venruki doing a good job kiting so far. Blinks away once again there, but he's down to 100k. He's got to be careful of the touch death. He knows it. One Rising Sun kick into that touch death would have been the end of him, so he's going to block early. He's going to be able to get topped off by Sidu. Intelligent play by Venruki, but still, G sitting on his PvP Trinket, looking for the CC over onto Xeon, trying to set things up, but he's going to get feared up by the Psy Fiend. Venruki really having trouble getting the CC over onto G, and Snuts has just not been able to get enough out by himself. Beethoven, though, down to half HP. 3 Amigos trying to mix it up, trying to put some pressure onto the Shadow Priest. They're realizing their tactic is not working.
Absolutely, and as this continues to go on, I believe this, as we get deeper and deeper into dampening, it should be a little bit scarier and scarier for Pop CD No Skill. Those teams are relatively evenly matched in dampening, but I feel like the longer this goes on, the more of an opportunity 3 Amigos is going to have to actually take this home. Xeon taking a ton of damage yet again, dipping really low there. Looks like he does get the Touch of Karma out, so he's going to be okay for now, but that's still a scary moment, especially, like I said, as that dampening continues to set in.
It's true, but I worry for 3 Amigos. Sea-Doo with no trinket. Venruki just having to block again recently. Next CC on Sea-Doo could be trouble. There's the fear onto what do they have out of that? As the silence into the in-cap comes out, Snuts is in trouble. The Fist of Fury are out on him. He's down, getting dangerously low here. Sea-Doo trying to top him back off. Where's the silence? We'll see if it comes out. Dark Regen does come up as well, but he's getting burst through this. Nice peels from Venruki. The Sheeps come out onto Xeon. That's going to be enough to keep Snuts alive, but another cooldown blown through. We see Ascendants did come out. Heals came out there as well, and 3 Amigos still on the back foot. Venruki now taking a lot of damage here. The Temporal Shield comes out. There's the Palm Sheep on a G. Deep Freeze over on a Xeon. There's the first trinket out from G. He's going to get Shadow Furied up. Snuts looking for the Fear. Is the Tremor going to come out? Doesn't look like it's available. This could be the end of Xeon, but no, he has the Diffuse. Now the damage swapping back over onto Beethoven. Venruki in trouble though, caught in the full Fist of Fury. He has the Alter Time up. Alter Time's back to high HP. Beautiful play by Venruki, and it's going to keep him alive. The pressure's still mounting onto Xeon. Down to half HP, and G in a full Hex. This could be the end for Xeon. He's trying to get out of there, and G has just been CC'd so much. Beethoven low, Xeon low as well. Can G top him back off?
Yeah, this is rough. Both Beethoven and Xeon are getting very low. G with no PvP trinket and has used a lot of cooldowns so far. And you can see their team is playing super defensive right now, just waiting for those trinkets to come back up.
Yeah, absolutely. Both teams are out for blood at this point, trading blows back and forth like crazy. Want a brief little respite there for a second, but now they're going back in. Xeon coming in onto Venruki, switching to Snuts very briefly, but switching back over. Venruki's going to try and get the Sheep out. It lands on Beethoven. He immediately trinkets that. Xeon actually taking a little bit of damage into the Deep Freeze there. A whole bunch of damage coming out on Xeon, dipping very, very low. He does get the Karma out yet again, but I think he's out of defensive cooldowns now. Yeah. One more big burst like that. He gets stuck in the ring there for a second. One more big burst and Xeon could go down.
Yeah, he has just got his second trinket back. He has the fuse up in 20, so he's going to have to live through that. We'll see if he's going to be able to do it. The orb does come out. A full Sheep onto G. Xeon kiting well here, but he is rotting down, and his self-healing is doing less and less as we see the dampening build up.
Yeah, 22% into dampening means it's going to be harder and harder for these healers to top people off. In between things, Xeon dipping really, really low. G and a whole bunch of crowd control there for a second. Deep Freeze comes out onto Xeon, still just hovering so low. G doing everything he possibly can to top him off. Fear onto Beethoven, but they're turning him back around. Damage going out onto Snuts there for just a second with that Fist of Fury. Venruki trying to get the Polymorph out, does land that on Xeon, and that's going to slow things down yet again for just a second.
Yep, full Fear onto Sea-Doo though. Great crowd control though from Snuts and Venruki, peeling for each other back and forth, keeping Xeon from getting the damage out that he does need. And keep in mind, he did have to use his Diffuse as soon as it does come up, so he doesn't have that available. Touch of Karma up in 35, but will he get there? G's going to have to trigger the Fear, and that could spell trouble if Palm comes up soon for Venruki. We'll see if he's going to be able to stay alive here. Sea-Doo did have to trinket in that exchange as well. Venruki and Snuts all with no trinkets. Both teams are completely running out of cooldowns here. We're going to have to see, next CC chain really could spell it all. The VT Fear going to catch over onto Sea-Doo there, but he does clean his team fully of the dots. We see that the pet going to be hit here by Xeon. Once again, just trying to build up the stacks, waiting for that Touch of Karma, which is up in just 10 seconds now. The pet is going to go down. Not a big deal, though. Snuts already resummoning. We see Venruki sitting in the background. 5 Icicles available. He's going to look to get some big damage going out here soon.
And look at Beethoven sitting on those procs, waiting for his monk. They are really going to line up all these cooldowns. The proc trinket just procced right there, so he's not going to have that available for the next onslaught quite yet. But there now he's at 11 stacks. Let's see what they can do with it. 2 procs sitting for Beethoven right now, so they're going to be able to dump a whole lot of damage into them.
Yeah, and looking at the Soul Well coming down in the middle of that, that should tell you how much damage these teams have been taking and how much they've had to use to keep themselves alive. They've already gone through all their Hellstones just trying to keep themselves alive in the middle of all this damage. I feel like very, very shortly here, they might just be waiting on trinkets or something, but there's going to be a very, very brief window where CD will have his trinket back, but G will not, and we'll see if 3 Amigos decides to use that as an opportunity to push back in and try and score themselves a kill.
I think Xeon was just waiting on the Diffuse magic. It is back up now, and now he's going to go aggressive. Snuts, though, pulling back. They're going to look at Venruki, who did just get feared out in the middle of the map. A bit of an awkward position from him. Temporal Shield comes up, but Beethoven taking the worst end of this exchange. There's the in-cap onto Sea-Doo. Do they have the silence followed up? Venruki may have to block here. A beautiful silence into the Fist of Fury. Venruki could not block that. Nice play from Xeon, but now comes the Deep Freeze. G going to be MCS. Xeon in some trouble here. He's going to pour it out of there, though. He does use the Nimble, but he's down dangerously low. He's trying to stay alive, but Beethoven at the same time. Disperse is going to be forced. Cooldowns coming out left left and right. There was a Zen Med from Xeon as well, desperately trying to keep his teammate alive. But we can see G really starting to struggle here, trying to keep his team up as these dots are starting to do work from Snuts. 40% into dampening. Things are starting to look bad for Pop CD. No skill, they're losing their pressure.
Yeah,
that Zen Med was incredible. He caught the haunt too. That would have been so much damage onto him.
Yeah, and everybody's cooldown or their trinkets are now up again. So this is just going to come down to a trading of blows here very, very shortly. There's a big polymorph on the Xeon, slowing things down as much as possible. They want to wait for the right opportunity to go in. I feel like the next big engagement we see, we're at 41% dampening. The next big engagement we see could be the end of this.
Yeah, I mean,
scary on both sides.
Zidu did have to blow his Ascendants coming out of the silence there, so another cooldown down for him, but he is rotating through them well, has the link and the trinket available, which is key, especially in dampening. Those aren't going to be affected by it. Xeon, though, taking pressure once again. G and Zidu, relatively even on mana. Zidu going to drop the healing tide there, trying to keep Snuts alive as he is down to half HP. The Sheep over onto Beethoven, Fear onto G. Nice cross CC here from 3 Amigos. It's going to be dispelled up, though, as the Tremor does come out. Xeon popping his stacks on Venruki. Venruki down to half. Full Fear onto Zidu. It will be Tremor, but will it be enough as the silence comes in? Nice play there. Leg sweep over onto Venruki. I think he's going to have to block. The block does come out, but Zidu's going to need to do some work here if he wants to top him back off. G into the full Sheep, though, out of that UA dispel. Venruki turning the pressure around. Karma comes out before the deep. Beautiful play there by Xeon, sensing the damage going to be coming back in, and he's going to use it to go offensive onto Venruki, even throwing the incap onto Venruki to catch back up onto him. This could be big trouble. They're going to gate away, but Venruki's going to be on that hypothermia for quite some time. And here comes Xeon. The MD is out there. It's going to be able to get him out of the Nova, back connecting onto him. Venruki not going to have blocked for quite some time. Sidu running low on mana, but Xeon solo. 50 HP falls.
Wow.
And Xeon is going to go down. 3 Amigos are up 2-0.
Where did that damage come from?
It was entirely Sidu's setup. When they ported back, he dropped the capacitor totem knowing that they would chase, and it caught both Beethoven and G in that stun, and they were able to layer CC immediately after onto G. That was incredible.
That was beautifully played, beautifully executed there from 3 Amigos. I believe we do have a replay we're going to go over into here for just a second to take a look at what just happened.
That was crazy. I mean, look at how deep into dampening that was. As you can see,
that as well. Triple Shadow Fury caught there. Xeon so low. And unable, I think it was a Snut scream we did just hear there. And I mean, G, it's unable to pick him back up. That beautiful triple Shadow Fury there from Snuts. But really the thing that stood out the most to me from that is 3 Amigos. Although they get on the back foot, they're able to turn it around so well. Venruki coming out of that block, he does use them early enough that he's going to be safe, but he cancels it knowing he's going to be okay as well with the communication to Sidu. Gets the Sheep off of UA Dispel. He sees the UA Dispel from G, knowing he can't drop the ground, he can't shock the Sheep, and he's going to cancel the block. Get that Sheep, and that's something that really did allow them to start turning around the game, and it's something that's one of the most difficult things to do in WoW is knowing when you're on the back foot, when you can go aggressive and take those risks.
Right, and especially at a tournament, knowing that you need to turn it around immediately, and that's what we see out of these teams, that there are some teams that will play super duper defensive, as we saw. They were sitting behind the boxes, rebuffing constantly. I really like that the Monk is taking the time to wait on Diffuse every time before he pushes out.
Absolutely. Great play out of both of these teams. We're going to get the next map going here very, very shortly. I'm curious what they go to next at this point. They've obviously they lost on Nagrin, and they just lost on Dalaran Sewers, which was their pick. So where would you go with your next map pick as this composition?
I think it depends on how all in you want to go. I think if you go runes, you could try rushing down Sidu. Honestly, I feel like it's a bit of a mistake to not have tried this at all, especially because he's not playing Orc. I think that's something that they haven't really tried to take advantage of enough. And in my opinion, going Alliance is a bit of a greedy play from 3 Amigos. They want the extra damage, that's fine, but they're giving up the safety of that stun reduction, which is so big. And they're forcing out trinkets from Sidu with a silence. I mean, if you take advantage of that, you get a full Fist of Fury into a DR leg sweep, into a silence. There's nothing that he can do for that entire duration. You're looking at 8 to 10 seconds of CC where he's not going to be able to react whatsoever. And when you look at the amount of damage that they're putting out, the cooldowns that they're forcing out of Venruki, you put that into the Shaman instead. He just dies without a trinket. So I feel that, although they're playing very well, I think that they could make some changes in their strategy. And I think that doing something like going to runes, putting the pressure onto Sidu could be the key to try turning the series around.
Well, I'm not going to make a guess because I already know.
Okay.
Because I've been talking to the players, getting them ready and queued up, and they are ready. I'm so excited for this. It is going to be on Tiger's Peak as possibly. Okay. I think that's really good for the Windwalker.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. To me, that just shows that they're not probably going to go on C2. It's like, you know, they want to have the pillars that they can pull back to. Runes is very, like, all in. You know, there's not going to be really the turtling that they can do like they did on Sewers, like they did on a Grand. You know, you see they like to go out, force a cooldown, and then retreat. And, you know, they're going to be able to play that same kind of strategy on Tiger's Peak with the first pillar.
Yeah, for sure. Tiger's Peak, one of my favorite maps. I just think it's very, very pretty, and I feel the need to point out how pretty it is every single time we see a match play on it. Also, look how pretty Sidu and Venruki are. Very, very fabulous players right there, getting themselves ready for this match. It is starting very, very shortly here. 3 Amigos up 2-0 against Pop CD No Skill. We will see very shortly if Pop CD No Skill can turn this around, or if 3 Amigos are going to get maybe a little bit of revenge for that 3-0 that they had last weekend and pull out a 3-0 of their own.
Now, since we give the players some time in between rounds, I do believe it's 3 or 5 minutes that they are allowed to take. We saw 3 Amigos constantly walk off the stage, especially after the first match where it was kind of one-sided.
Yep.
Do you think that that plays into their advantage to kind of delay it and make the team sit there and stew on stage and, you know, and wait for it?
I think it does, and it's something that I talked with them, you know, over this past week a fair bit. You know, just making sure you're taking the time, thinking through your strategies, having a complete game plan, and being on the same page. And I think if they're going to be able to do that, they can do very well here. And we can see that Pop CD No Skill is going to be battling against the crowd. And we are going to have the game starting up, guys. This is possibly the last match of the series. 3 Amigos up 2-0, looking to force their way into the next round, while Pop CD No Skill is going to have to take 3 straight against the former global champions.
Yeah, and look, nuts out of the gate already, double trinket dots coming out onto everyone with that Dark Soul too, so this is a lot of pressure. And look at Xeon already dipping pretty low.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, this is single elimination. If Pop CD No Skill loses this game, that's it. They are out of the tournament. They will go home with that 5th to 8th place prize of $10,000, but I mean, really, if they win this game, they have so much more that they have access to at that point. Obviously, you do not want to lose in this situation right now.
Yep, but the damage coming over onto Venruki. You can see he's down about half HP. Devouring Plague coming out. Nice Shadow Fury catches too. The Fear over on G. Beethoven in trouble. We see that he is going to be forced to disperse already. And they force a trinket. A lot of cooldowns that coming out of G. Xeon even last standing there. I think that was a mistake. He wasn't even being targeted. He does pop the last stand there, which is a fairly big deal. And I mean, now with Beethoven having no disperse, I just don't think they expected that damage to come in on him. They weren't expecting that strategy. And the mix up there from 3 Amigos is really putting them ahead early in this game.
I think it was a lot of cooldown use from Snuts. He's already burned through 2 of his Dark Souls immediately, straight away, so he's going to have a while for him to set up the burst, as we do see Xeon already using that 10-stack Tiger Eye Brew with also 8 in reserve.
Yeah, he's going to be able to get those remaining 2 stacks in a hurry, but not if he's feared off on the other side of the map. And that, once again, is what 3 Amigos has been doing every single time he pops that Tiger Eye Brew, is just saying, all right, take a chill pill. Just calm down for a second, Xeon. Just calm down. Quit being so angry all the time. He's got back up to those 10 stacks again, but it looks like they're just sort of hanging back for a second and waiting for a good opportunity yet again.
Yep, and we can see Sidu going to be changing pillars. They want to stay aggressive, but he wants to maintain control of that. They're keeping Pop CD No Skill out in the open, which is not what they want. Snut's going to be taking some damage here as the Devouring Plague does come in. They're popping those cooldowns over onto him, but Sidu in the background not being CC'd. Now the end cap comes in. Can they force anything from Snuts? No. He's going to port right out of there. Ring of Peace comes out offensively. Silence onto Sidu, but it's going to be DR'd from the Ring of Peace, unfortunately. Beethoven getting feared out. That's going to be the end of the aggression. Now it's 3 Amigos' turn. There's the Shadow Fury into the Fear onto G. That's going to be beautifully MD'd by Beethoven. He wasn't even sitting through that for a second, but Sidu landing the Hex. Beethoven could be in some trouble. Deep Freeze comes in. There's the Orb as well. Do they have the follow-up? In cap over onto Sidu. No follow-up onto G, unfortunately, and that also will be the end of the aggression from the other team. Sidu going to be popping Spearwalker's Grace. Sentence comes out as well. Pretty early cooldown usage there from Sidu, but anticipating the damage coming in on Venruki, and it is coming in quite heavily as he's down to half HP. The Unleash comes out from Sidu. That Healing Surge not going to be enough to get him out of the woods just yet. Venruki does trinket though, kiting back, trying his best. The Snuts does peel Xeon off. The Fear is going to be spammed out there. They're looking for the CC onto G. The Shadow Fury does come in. Sheep over onto Beethoven. Now the Fear out onto G. That's going to be tremored up. Beautiful play here, rotating through the MDs. The tremors by Pop CD No Skill though. And 3 Amigos not able to get G's Shinker just yet.
And G's able to clean his team off at dots completely. Snuts really needs to make some things happen with these dots. There we go. Gets 1 stack up on, there we go, 2 targets. So this is what he needs to do to capitalize on it. What do you think about the gateway placement? It seems like more across the map, not where Pop CD No Skill is.
Yeah, I think they just want that maximum distance gateway. They're saying, we will outplay this team. We will win in the late game. And, they just want the safety of that. But the silence comes in onto Sidu. There's the MCS onto Snuts as well from that kick from Xeon. And Snuts does pop the healing cooldowns, being a little bit safe there, perhaps a bit overly safe because he wasn't too low, but the in-cap over onto Sidu. They're trying to turn the damage around on Xeon. Fear onto G. MCS onto Beethoven. It's a 3v1. We see the MCS onto Beethoven. He does pop that last stand. The Karma has to come out as well, though, down to 100k. Re-Fear over onto G. He's not out of the woods just yet. Can they follow it up? Sidu trying to get aggressive. There's the NSX from Sidu. That's going to have to be trinketed. A beautiful aggressive play there from Sidu. Does cost a trinket. Now the Sheep does follow it up. Can they continue the aggression? Venruki, though, being pushed back. Snuts as well. Down about half. Venruki going to get bursted really hard here. This may be the block. He does block very early that time. Was up above half HP with heals coming in, but just did not feel like he was in a position to risk it.
Yeah, absolutely. Xeon had popped a whole bunch of defensive cooldowns. He actually used his Fortifying Brew there as well as his Touch of Karma. So I feel like that was a good block from Venruki, just saying, all right, you're trying to use these to be aggressive right now. I'm going to shut that down entirely by being immune to everything that you can throw at me. So I do really like that block from Venruki.
Yep, and so we do see, once again, Xeon just trying to build up those stacks, looking to get aggressive. Once again, when Beethoven has the orbs, when he has the stacks, they're going to get in there. Venruki, though, is off hypothermia, going to have another block available. Here comes the Demon Soul from Snuts. He wants to get aggressive. Shadow Fury over onto G. Fear onto Venruki. He's going to trigger this. Xeon going to have to trigger the deep as well, pulling out of there. You can see he uses that the roll into the kick. He's just going to jump right out of there, back behind the pillar, over with G. Now going to get aggressive again, using that second roll charge over onto Snuts. Devouring Plague comes out. No CC for Sidu just yet. The Unleash coming out from him. He's down to half HP regardless. Xeon being sheeped off by Venruki. Snuts and Venruki working beautifully together so far in this series.
Yeah, and I just wanted to point out real quickly that Snuts, in the middle of all that, got a banish out on the Psy Fiend to make sure that no extra fears were coming out. That presence of mind is
Look at Venruki, though. He's down to 100k.
Oh.
He did, actually, the Link has to come out as well. He did blow his block. He canceled that trying to go offensive, I do believe, and he got down dangerously low there. Sidu, it's going to cost him his Link. Xeon, though, could be the end of him. We see the sheep over onto G. Do they have the follow-up? The Touch of Karma does come out. It is aggressively used onto the Venruki, who does not have a block here, so he could be in some trouble. Spear Hand Strike coming out onto him for the silence, trying to delay the blink away, but he's going to get out of there. We see Spearhawker's Grace used by G, and they do use that gateway, just going to pull back, get out of there, and be able to reset once again. Beethoven and Xeon, though, pushing forward. They want to keep the pressure on. They feel that they are getting into the advantage, and they don't want to give it up. We'll see what they're going to be able to get done here.
Yeah, just like you were saying earlier, using that long gateway to play defensively. Big damage coming in on Venruki. He's actually silenced into a Hex. He's getting really low. Down goes Venruki.
Yeah, and Venruki,
wow.
I mean, Sidu did use his trigger there. He had the Ascendance up as well, but the burst coming out was just so much from Pop CD No Skill. They are going to be able to take down Venruki. 2-1 is the map score now, and I have to say, Venruki normally, I really do like how he uses his blocks. He pretty much, even though he's kind of known for the whole, the whole down goes Venruki thing.
Right.
He's one of the mages that you basically will never see die before using cooldowns in a tournament setting.
Yeah.
But I do have to say, I feel that this game, he used his block too early. He used it at about 400,000 HP. I feel like the orbs were already used. Most of the damage had already been worked through. And, Sidu had heals coming out. He wasn't even CC'd. So I feel like that was a bit of kind of like
It was a very risky play.
It was just like, he was trying to be too safe, I think. And that like being that safe is almost dangerous because
it becomes a risk yet again. And like you're trying to be too safe to not take damage. So you're thinking about it too much, and then you end up taking what ends up being a risk, and it definitely did not pay off for him there. We are going to have a replay to go in here real quick just to see, I believe, just the final moments of that game. So much damage came out in a hurry.
Yeah, and we can hear the team communicating. They're going to go aggressive onto Venruki. You can see the burst coming out onto him. There was a full silence onto Sidu, which he did trinket. Pops the Spirit Archer's Grace. But look at that Psychic Core on the very last second of it from Beethoven. He's the one who set up the kill. He uses his one orb that he built up there from his proc, I do believe, to get that Psychic Core on the end of the Spirit Archer's Grace heal. Already forcing the trinket with the silence. So beautiful play there from Beethoven coming out onto Sidu, shutting down those heals. And, they just weren't able to keep him alive. The amount of damage that Windwalker Shadow Priest does put out is massive.
Yeah, those burst potential of when you stack up all those procs and get ready, and then plus the 10 stack with double trinket, there's so much potential for a kill at any moment, which is why we see Venruki blocking at such high hit points constantly, because, a fully procced out Windwalker, with the Rising Sun kick is a massive amount of damage right now.
Yep. Absolutely. So we will be getting into this potentially final game here. We are now 2-1. in favor of 3 Amigos in this series. So just one more win, and like you were saying earlier, Azael, this now means that they get to pick the map. They really only have to win on the maps that they get to pick at this point. So I'm really curious to see what they're going to end up picking here in this potentially final game. What map can they take home the win on?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, it's all just comes down to the strategies that teams want to play. I mean, once again, I talked about Runes could be good for the other team because of aggression, but Runes also does take away the kind of turtling potential that Pop Seed No Skill has. So
yeah.
3 Amigos may feel that that's their best bet. If they want to play it a little bit safer, they could be going, on a Tolvaron or something, trying to spread it out, because moving between the pillars is pretty difficult, for that team. And if G gets caught out in the middle on Tolvaron, I think the CC chains are going to come out pretty heavily. It looks like it is going to be Tolvaron Arena as the selection. I think this is kind of the safer choice.
For sure.
And it's one that I like. I mean, although there is a pillar on this map, it's a lot harder to LOS with it because it's so big and it's, it's kind of the sharp angle. So it's like, although you turn around the corner, you still have quite a bit of distance to cover before you actually get out of LOS again. So yeah, it's much harder, and you can get a great gateway on this map. If you spread it out, I feel like it's going to be difficult for G to stay out of CC.
So as I just popped into the game real quick, I caught the very tail end of Ring of Peace on Xeon, which means they are going to be sacrificing that stun from the leg sweep, and he's been setting up a lot of kills with that.
Yeah, I mean, he did play Ring of Peace at least one of the games, at least the first game, but I think the last game he did go to leg sweep. So it's interesting that he's now going back again, after having the success with that. But the gates are going to open up, guys. Let's hear it for these two teams. 3 Amigos on the verge of eliminating Pop Seed No Skill. Will they be able to tie it up, or will 3 Amigos knock them out of the tournament?
So Venruki rates out of the gate, like we see him always, trying to stack up those living bombs on everyone, just needing those procs right away, building up the icicles. There's a lot of pre-setup going on for this mage. Of course, Snut's trying to get all his dots out, but G doing a great job of keeping them all dispelled.
Yep, definitely doing a good job of that so far. We are in the game, so if we can hop on in, that would be great. But, Xeon just kind of mounting around here. Both teams just looking for that setup. We'll see what they're going to be able to do. There's an unbound will coming out of Snuts immediately. He is taking quite a bit of damage here. We see the MCS over on a Beethoven. There's a Hex over on a Snuts. That's going to force the Trinket. Silence over on a Sea-Doo. Venruki already down to about half HP. And I mean, Venruki already in a lot of trouble. Devouring Plague coming out. Now the Deep Freeze over onto Xeon. We see the UA dispel caught there by G. Venruki's in quite a bit of trouble here. He is being healed up by Sea-Doo though. The Sheep over onto G, going to be able to turn this around perhaps. We see the Diffuse coming out from Xeon, last stand from him as well. He wants to stay aggressive onto Venruki. The Howl though over onto G, will it be tremor'd up? The Hex onto Beethoven, it's a 3v1. Venruki so low though, barely gets the block off before the Touch of Death comes out. And the offensive cooldown usage there by Xeon is going to pay off as long as G can keep him topped up here. It looks like he will be able to, but will he? He's down so low, down 100k, uses the Zen Med there, actually ate a Sheep that was coming in on G, so beautiful play there by Xeon, and that is going to be a great start for them.
Yeah, that potentially prevented a trinket use from G. It's great to watch these players just know when that kind of CC is coming, especially because Xeon knows that he was the target at that point. He did get out of line of sight, and he might have been okay, but there could have been a kill potential there with those gateways.
Absolutely. It's just the sort of game sense that you get after playing for such a long time, especially with this comp. They did have that one team switch, and Venruki taking a whole bunch of damage again. He's going to pour it out of there. His team's following closely behind. There's the Ring of Peace coming out, though, and the
He has no blink. Yeah, that's the second block already. I mean, wow. This is trouble. They did gate out of there, but the Flying Serpent kick got Xeon right over there. Healing Tide dropped by Sea-Doo is killed off immediately, and he's right back onto Venruki. Venruki's going to be in a lot of trouble. I mean, he has no blocks already, just about a minute or two into this game, and Touch Karma, everything's still available here. There's the end cap onto Sea-Doo. We could see a Silence to follow that up, and that would surely be the Trinket. The Devouring Plague comes in on Venruki, already down to half HP. He's trying to kite out of there. He's using the Touch of Karma offensively. He wants to try to finish the game right now, but he is being sheeped up, and Xeon, he could be punished big time for this. That was way too aggressive from him. He blows the Trinket and touches offensively at almost full HP onto Venruki, and this is not something that 3 Amigos should let him get away with. Now he's going to be feared up. Are they going to look for the setup? I think they are. If they can get the CC onto G, this could be the game right here, right now. Xeon pulling back. He knows he's made a mistake, and he has to get out of there. Now the G is going to be having to Trinket. He's going to be re-feared by Snuts. This could be it. The Deep Freeze comes in on Beethoven. They may force the disperse here. Both players being pressured so heavily. Ring of Peace coming out defensively from Xeon. G desperately trying to top his team back off. He is getting a little bit of time to do so now. It looks like they may stabilize. The stacks being popped by Xeon. He's going to get aggressive onto Venruki. Hacks over on a Snuts. Silence on a Sea-Doo. It's a 3v1. Venruki going to get out of there. Diffuse does come out once again from Xeon. He's feared up. Looks like he's going to be okay.
And there's the link coming out from Sea-Doo. This is a lot of cooldowns so far. As Beethoven down to half Xeon. And look at the CC onto G. It's great.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous CC right now. Xeon once again having to get out of line of sight. Beethoven in trouble. He's frozen out in the middle of the map. Does have to pop the dispersion there.
But
he can't move out of line of sight.
This is going to be it for 3 Amigos. They're going to come down. Zion's going to be it. Beethoven goes down. And 3 Amigos are going to claim victory in what was an insane game.
Yeah.
So fast-paced. Honestly, some major mistakes there made from PopCity No Skill. Xeon just getting way too aggressive. He sensed the kill. He wanted to finish off Benruki, but they were in an amazing position. I feel like if they just played the game out smart, they would have had that. I mean, forcing both blocks from Benruki almost instantly, and then he decides to trinket Pop Karma at full HP just with the damage coming in, but they're not going to burst into that. I mean, this team is too smart. Benruki just simply sheeped him up. He wasted his Karma. He wasted his trinket. Next burst on him forced the trinket out of G, and it just snowballed from there.
He just got overly eager. I think that the fact that they pushed so many CDs out of 3 Amigos right from the start, that Monk just got overly eager with that, knowing that he doesn't have a second block to block off that Karma. You know, it was a judgment call at the time, but they ended up losing because of it.
Yeah, and I think that's part of why he went with Ring of Peace in that round, too. They were just trying to be super, super aggressive. They know that the longer the game goes on, the less of an opportunity they would have to be able to actually take that home. They were trying to go for a quick win there. They almost managed to pull it off. The Ring of Peace into the Fists of Fury, that's so much damage, but a mage can normally just blink out of the Fists of Fury. So that's why the Ring of Peace, to make sure that he can't actually blink at that point. Great idea, but you do have to actually kill him.
Yeah, I mean, Xeon was also doing a great job with the spear hand strike, silencing as well with the Fist of Fury. So, well played series by both teams, but 3 Amigos going to be moving on, and PopCity No Skill, unfortunately for them, are going to be the first team eliminated from the tournament. Let's hear it for both teams. 3 Amigos going to be able to take it 3-1, and we are going to have more games coming up. The next lower bracket game will be coming out, and once again, every one of these games, these teams are facing elimination today. 3 Amigos, they did win here, but they're going to have to face Penny for Your Thoughts next to be able to even get to the semifinals. So they still do have a hard road ahead of them. They're not safe just yet by any means.
Yeah, definitely. Starting out in the lower bracket, fighting your way all the way back up to the top, it's grueling almost. Like, you have so many games ahead of you that you have to be able to win if you want to take that first place prize. Whereas someone like Skill Capped or Bleach Bones already in the semifinals, they've only got a couple of games they even have to worry about, and they can be watching what their opponents are doing the entire time. So,
and that's a big thing.
Yeah,
they can talk over strategies. They can kind of watch, and I mean, the teams that are in the semifinals don't even have to play today.
Yeah.
It was so important to win your first 2 matches last week. We talked about it with the players, and they were saying how it would be the worst week of their life if they lost that first game. And, a couple of them have turned it around, such as 3 Amigos, and we know that they've been practicing over and over and over and over. They really wanted to prove to their fans that they were ready for this.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, you can see them talking about this is their home. You can see them talking on social media as well. Promising to do better, not only for the fans but for North America. They wanted to show better games. They wanted to represent the region. And last week, North America did not have the best showing. Europe really was the one that stole the show. 2 European teams going straight through the semifinals right off the bat. Skill Cap to you definitely looking like the strongest team in the tournament by far. And it was funny just listening to some of these teams. They were like, wow, like we really just sucked. We need to play better. And they have stepped it up so far. We'll see if they can continue that going forward in the tournament.
It's really important for them to bounce back. It's when they like PopCity No Skill. This was a very close match for 3 Amigos. They know they have to bring this momentum into their next matchup.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
But we are going to have Zoe over on the stage. So let's check out what she has for us.
Thank you very much, guys. And now I have the winners with me. Please, once more, give it up for 3 Amigos. That was an absolutely incredible series we got to witness. So let's talk a little bit about what we just saw. This time I have Benruki next to me. I specifically want to talk a little bit about the second game, because at the beginning, it really looked like PopCity No Skill had the upper hand. But the longer the game went on, the more you guys seem to be like really, really in a good position. What do you think turned the tide there?
Well, the longer the game goes on, I think the better it is for us because of dampening and the way this tournament works. I think it's after 5 minutes, healing starts getting reduced. And with a heavy CC comp like ours, it's hard for the healer to pick up. Another thing is whoever pushes in usually is at a disadvantage because there are other healers protected behind the pillar and the DPS has to kind of open up. So it kind of works out where whatever team pushes in usually like ends up falling behind. It's weird.
Is it? Well, now you guys are going to go up against Penny for Your Thoughts next. What are your thoughts on that? Like, are you confident against that team, or do you think it's going to be very, very close?
Yeah, we're pretty confident against them. They're a good team. They've been to BlizzCon before, so it's not going to be an easy game, but we played them at regionals and did very well, and we expect the same result.
All right. Thanks a lot for joining me here on stage. Once more, of course, congratulations. Can't wait to have you guys back here. And before we're going to head into the next game, we're going to go into a very quick break.